They're not on your favorite top 10 lists and didn't sell millions, but trust me, these games will stay with you forever. We're talking incredible games with deep stories, bold ideas, and combat systems that still hold up today. You've probably never played them, but by the end of this video, you'll wish you had.
This one breath away from collapsing. Since being sensible and abandoning.
When people talk about modern RPGs with moral choices, most of the spotlight goes to big names like Dragon Age or The Witcher. But back in 2016, Tyranny did something way more daring. Instead of asking if you wanted to be the hero or the villain, it threw you into a world where evil had already won. You're not fighting to save the world, you're working for the regime that crushed it. Developed by Obsidian, the same minds behind Fallout New Vegas and Pillars of Eternity, Tyranny lets you play as a Fatebinder. Basically, a high-ranking judge with the power to decide the fate of anyone in the name of the Overlord Kairos. Every major faction and companion has two separate meters, loyalty and fear. You can gain their respect by being fair and consistent, or scare the hell out of them with brutal efficiency. And your decisions actually matter, as entire towns can disappear depending on your actions, and allies can turn into enemies if you push the wrong buttons. The gameplay mixes real-time with pause combat and gives you an absurd amount of flexibility. You pause the action to queue up abilities, reposition your party, or react to sudden chaos mid-fight. It's all about chaining spells, staggering enemies, and pulling off combos with your companions. You build your character from the ground up, choosing not just class and skills, but your political alignment and the events of your past. You can shape fighters into hybrids, tweak their AI behaviors, and create spell setups that hit like a truck if timed right. Even enemy formations force you to think on your feet, especially during big faction battles where one wrong move can wreck your whole team. And when it comes to magic, the sigil system is pure gold. You don't just learn spells, you build them. You combine a core sigil, like fire or force, with modifiers for area, range, or status effects. It feels more like crafting ideas than casting spells, and the deeper you go, the more ridiculous the combos get.
Ready?
Radiant Historia is one of those games that somehow slipped through the cracks, even though it easily rivals some of the biggest names in the genre. It came out on the Nintendo DS, a system packed with great RPGs, and maybe that's part of why it got overlooked. But what makes Radiant Historia special is how it mixes time travel with strategy in a way that actually works and makes sense. You play as Stock, a soldier caught in the middle of a massive war between two nations fighting over dwindling resources. But the real twist comes with the White Chronicle, a magical book that lets you jump between timelines, and every major decision creates a ripple effect, so you're constantly going back and forth, fixing mistakes and opening up new paths. Combat is another standout. It's turn-based, but enemies appear on a 3x3 grid, and you can push or pull them around with certain skills. That means you can group them together and hit multiple targets at once with area attacks, which feels insanely satisfying when it works. Each character can learn passive abilities that activate automatically during combat. So you'll see clutch heals, bonus attacks, or status effects triggering without spending a single turn. Also, side quests aren't just filler. They're actually tied into the time travel system. Some quests can only be completed by jumping between different timelines and making changes in one to affect the outcome in another. Plus, finishing certain quests unlocks new scenes, rewards, and sometimes critical info that ties back into the main story. But one of the smartest design choices in Radiant Historia is how it visualizes the timeline itself. Instead of just throwing you into the past or future blindly, the game maps out every key event in a flowchart-style menu. You can see exactly where each story branch splits, what choices you've made, and which scenes you've already seen. Later, it got a 3DS version called Radiant Historia Perfect Chronology, which added more story content, voice acting, and some quality of life improvements. It's the definitive version if you want the full experience.
appreciate it.
Wonderful.
Set in the grim darkness of the far future, Rogue Trader drops you into one of the most brutal and fascinating sci-fi universes ever created. And you're not a nameless soldier or a low-ranking grunt. You're a Rogue Trader, an elite figure granted immense power by the Imperium of Man to explore the uncharted edges of space, build your own empire, and make choices that can shift the fate of entire systems. What makes this game stand out isn't just the lore, although it's packed with decades of deep, gritty Warhammer history. It's the freedom. You command a massive void ship, assemble a crew of unique characters, and make high-stakes decisions that can lead to alliances, betrayals, or complete chaos. Combat is turn-based, and you'll manage positioning, cover, and class abilities while facing cultists, mutants, Xenos, and far worse. Each battle also plays with a momentum system, where keeping the pressure on your enemies builds up a resource you can spend to unleash powerful finishing moves or squad-wide buffs. Some abilities get stronger when used in sync with allies, creating these sick combo effects where one character knocks an enemy out of cover and another blasts them midair. Outside of combat, you're not just leading a party, you're running a dynasty. That means managing your massive void ship, upgrading its systems, expanding your reach through trade routes, and keeping your crew alive, loyal, and useful. You'll be making calls that affect entire planets, dealing with factions that all want something from you, and deciding whether to study forbidden tech or burn it before it corrupts everything. Crafting plays a big role too. You can forge new weapons, enhance armor, and mod your gear with powerful effects that can turn the tide in battle. Your ship itself can be customized with better weapons, shields, and support systems, giving you an edge in both exploration and space combat. Rogue Trader was built by Owlcat Games, the same crew behind Pathfinder, so you already know they went deep. You've got branching narratives, layered builds, and enough systems to keep theory crafters busy for weeks. The campaign is massive, with over 100 hours of content if you're the kind of player who wants to see everything. There are hidden areas, political standoffs, wild moral decisions, and run-ins with some of the most iconic factions in the 40K universe. What's wild is how far the game is willing to let you go. You can dabble in xenotech, work with unsanctioned psychers, or push into straight-up heresy, stuff that would usually get you vaporized in any other Warhammer story. And if you're into the lore, this game's a goldmine. You'll spot gear, weapons, and references pulled straight from codex pages and classic miniatures, all woven into the world like they've always been there.
I can make it.
Requests approved. Running binary override.
Fallen Legion Rise to Glory mixes fast-paced real-time combat with the decision-making tension of a political drama. The game throws you into two sides of the same war. On one hand, you follow a disgraced princess trying to reclaim her throne. On the other, you step into the boots of a general who betrayed the crown for what he believed was the greater good. Combat is all about timing, combos, and managing a party of summoned warriors called Exemplars. Each Exemplar is mapped to a single face button, and you control them in real time by hitting those buttons in rhythm to pull off fluid combos. The key is to chain your attacks properly while watching your action bar refill. And at the same time, you've got to block enemy hits manually. Also, the main character stands behind the Exemplars, casting limited-use spells from a grimoire that can heal, buff, or wipe out enemies in a flash. And as you progress, you can upgrade your Exemplars by enhancing their relics, which work like equipment with passive bonuses. Some relics boost critical damage, while others improve your chances of surviving longer battles. And these upgrades can actually shift how you use each Exemplar in your strategy. A heavy hitter can become a tank, and a support unit can suddenly become your MVP in the front lines. Between fights, you're constantly making snap political decisions like execute a corrupt noble, raise taxes, save a village, and every one of them changes how your story unfolds. The visual style leans heavily into 2D hand-drawn art, with flashy attacks and dramatic animations that make every battle feel like a moment from an anime climax. Fallen Legion Rise to Glory actually combines two earlier titles from the series, Sins of an Empire and Flames of Rebellion. It brings both storylines together in one package, along with some nice upgrades. The devs polished the visuals, rebalanced the combat, added new voice acting, and even dropped in some fresh content that wasn't in the originals. And yeah, this isn't some massive studio project. It was made by a small indie team called Yummy Yummy Tummy, and they went all in on creating a focused, challenging experience that works great whether you're playing in quick bursts or grinding through a longer session. Scarlet Nexus is one of those RPGs that came and went without making the noise it deserved. Released in 2021, it had a solid push at launch but quickly got lost in the shuffle. Set in a futuristic Japan-style world where certain humans develop psychic powers, Scarlet Nexus drops you into a society where these gifted individuals are drafted into an elite task force to fight off monstrous creatures called Others. They're creepy, twisted things, part alien, part nightmare, with design work that looks like it crawled out of a Junji Ito fever dream. You control two different protagonists, Yuito and Kasane, each with their own unique storyline, abilities, and perspectives. And playing both sides actually changes how you see the world, the characters, and the deeper plot that slowly unravels behind all the action. And speaking of action, this is where the game really shines. Combat is fast, fluid, and flashy. You're slicing through enemies with your weapon, while hurling chunks of the environment at them using pure telekinesis. And it doesn't stop there. You can borrow your teammates' powers on the fly, like turning invisible, setting enemies on fire, or slowing down time. And mix and match these abilities in real time makes every fight feel dynamic and strategic, especially against the more bizarre mutated enemies later in the game. And once you unlock Brain Drive and Brain Field, the game takes things to another level. Brain Drive kicks in automatically as you fight and boosts your speed, cooldowns, and overall combat efficiency. But Brain Field? That's full-on overdrive mode. You enter this crazy psychic dimension where you can spam telekinesis non-stop and shred everything around you. The catch is that staying in too long will kill you, so it becomes this high-risk, high-reward move that can either save you or blow up in your face. And as you level up, you unlock new combat moves, passive boosts, and enhancements that actually change how you play. Instead of bloating the system with dozens of tiny stat upgrades, most of the nodes give you meaningful stuff, like new finishers, faster psychokinesis recharge, or expanded dodging. It's super easy to navigate and gives you a clear sense of growth without overcomplicating things. Beyond the combat, Scarlet Nexus has surprisingly strong character development. Each squad mate has their own backstory, bond episodes, and abilities that evolve the more time you spend with them. It's like Persona Lite in how it blends action with relationship building.
The attack hit the enemy's outer shell. You might be able to break it.
Using the Sheeta. All right.
Most RPGs from the late 90s followed a familiar formula. Turn-based combat, magic systems, maybe a couple of summons and a chosen one saving the world. But Legend of Legaia took that formula and added something that made it feel completely fresh. Instead of just picking an attack or spell from a menu, you had to input directional combos to string together martial arts moves in battle. And when you got it right, your character would unleash brutal combos that looked and felt way more satisfying than just another fireball. And as you leveled up, you'd unlock more input slots, letting you create longer and more powerful combos. You could tailor their movesets based on your own style, whether that meant focusing on fast-hitting combos, powerful finishers, or strategic arts that debuffed enemies. All special moves cost AP, so you'll often need to spend a turn using Spirit to charge up, adding another layer of strategy to each fight. Do you risk powering up for a stronger combo, or play it safe and strike now? The Seiryu system also adds a whole new layer to progression. These magical creatures fuse with your characters, granting them new spells and support abilities that make a real difference in combat. You capture them during battle, almost like a dark mystical version of a monster catching game. And the more you rely on their abilities, the stronger and more versatile they become over time. Visually, it might not blow anyone away today, but back then, those detailed character models during battles and the flashy animations were impressive. And even now, the unique combat system holds up as something bold and different. Legend of Legaia didn't try to copy the giants like Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest. It carved its own path, and for those who played it, it left a mark. Alright, if you're enjoying this video and want a part 3, drop your suggestions in the comments. I seriously check and reply to all of them. This is actually part 2 of the series, so I'll leave the playlist link down below and in the card at the end. Your comments help the algorithm and keep the channel alive with fresh content, so don't be shy. And hey, don't forget to subscribe and check out the deals on our Instant Gaming link. Any purchase you make after clicking it directly supports the channel. Most people slept on Zanki Zero last beginning, and honestly, it's a shame. This game mixes survival, dungeon crawling, and a heavy sci-fi story in a way that feels completely unique. You control 8 characters who are actually clones, each with a weird aging cycle, as they go from childhood to old age in just 13 days. When they die, they can be revived using a special machine, but they keep certain traits from their past lives, which adds a crazy layer of strategy to everything you do. The gameplay flips between exploring ruined islands, solving puzzles, and managing resources like food, stamina, stress, and every action matters. If someone gets too hungry, they'll start losing health and eventually die, while high stress can leave them exhausted and unable to act, making battles almost impossible if you don't manage them carefully. Outside of combat, you're constantly making decisions that affect survival, like crafting tools and weapons, building up your base, farming for ingredients, or even deciding who sleeps where to boost morale. You have to manage bathrooms, clean up waste, and keep your group mentally stable because if you don't, they'll literally start breaking down. And that's before you even step into a fight. Once you're in combat, it plays out in real time on a grid, where positioning and timing are everything. You can dodge enemy attacks, sidestep traps, and line up hits for maximum damage, but mindlessly rushing in will get your entire team wiped out. Each character has their own weapon specialty and skill tree, and as they age, their stats change too. Adults hit harder, middle-aged characters have better stamina and defense, and seniors are glass cannons with faster attack recharge times. You can invest points into passive skills that help outside combat too, like boosting item drops, reducing hunger, or improving crafting efficiency. So progression isn't just about getting stronger, it's about adapting to each clone's short lifespan and making the most out of every phase. But what really pulls you in is the story. Each chapter digs deep into one of the characters' past lives and traumas. Some of it gets dark, really dark, but it never feels edgy just for the sake of it. It's more about exploring how people deal with guilt, regret, and second chances. And the way the game ties those personal stories into the bigger mystery of why the world ended is seriously clever. Zanki Zero might not be for everyone, but if you're into weird, thought-provoking games that actually try something new and make you think both during and between battles, it's absolutely worth your time. Back in the day, nobody expected much from a game called Cat Quest. But the sequel? Cat Quest 2 takes everything that worked in the first one and dials it up big time. It's a colorful, fast-paced action RPG where you play as a cat and a dog, trying to stop a massive war between their kingdoms. And while that sounds cute, don't let the art style fool you. This game is packed with smart mechanics, tight combat, and some of the smoothest co-op gameplay out there. You can freely switch between the two characters, each with their own set of weapons, skills, and magic. And that build customization? Way deeper than it looks at first glance. You've got swords, staves, axes, and armor pieces that not only change your stats, but also unlock passive bonuses that can completely shift your playstyle. Want to make a full magic build that burns enemies from across the screen? Stack gear that boosts mana regen and fire damage. Prefer a tanky melee style with healing support? Equip heavy armor, stack defense buffs, and toss in a healing spell that scales with your health. The combinations feel endless, and the best part is that you're constantly finding new loot that opens up fresh ideas for builds. Spells and gear can be upgraded at specific points on the map using gold or collecting duplicate items, and every upgrade adds noticeable power. You're not just adding 1 point of damage, but increasing elemental damage, expanding area of effect range, or unlocking stronger versions of your favorite spells, which adds depth to how you approach each fight. And since enemies have their own elemental weaknesses and patterns, switching gear and spell loadouts becomes part of the strategy. Combat itself is fast, clean, and surprisingly strategic. You've got to stay mobile, read enemy telegraphs, time your dodges, and decide when to go all in or play it safe. Every hit feels satisfying, and whether you're solo or playing with a friend, the back and forth between the two characters adds an extra layer of rhythm to every battle. The game world is open and full of little secrets, side quests, and clever jokes that never overstay their welcome, so it's really easy to jump in and lose hours without even noticing. Cat Quest 2 might look like a casual indie title, but it delivers a full-on RPG experience with a lot of heart, and it's the kind of game that makes you smile while also giving you a solid challenge if you're not paying attention. Cosmic Star Heroine looks like a lost classic from the 90s, but it's actually a modern indie gem that nails everything fans love about old-school JRPGs. The game throws you into a fast-paced sci-fi world full of espionage, rebellion, and stylish combat, all packed into a tight, polished experience that respects your time. The combat system is turn-based but super dynamic. Each character comes with a limited set of abilities that reset between battles, which means you're constantly rotating your tactics instead of falling into the usual attack-attack-heal routine. That setup forces you to really think about timing, synergy between party members, and how to open a fight versus how to finish it. Some characters specialize in debuffs, others in burst damage or healing, and mixing those roles becomes key to surviving tougher encounters. You can tweak your loadout by equipping different techs and gadgets that modify your stats or add new effects to your skills. And every piece of gear you find actually matters. There's no useless filler loot, almost everything pushes your build forward in some way. You'll often find yourself switching weapons not for higher numbers, but because a new item adds poison to a basic attack or lets you counter when hit. That kind of micro-customization gives you a lot of control without drowning you in menus. The visual style is a love letter to the 16-bit era, especially titles like Chrono Trigger and Phantasy Star. But it's not just writing nostalgia. It delivers with sharp writing, great pacing, and one of the best soundtracks in any indie RPG. There's also no grinding or filler. The game moves fast, respects your decisions, and constantly rewards you with cool gear, new party members, and meaningful story beats. If you've been chasing that golden era JRPG feeling without the outdated mechanics, this one's a no-brainer. Imagine playing something that blends time travel, giant mechs, high school drama, heavy sci-fi, and somehow it all makes perfect sense. That's exactly what 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim delivers. It's one of those games that looks overwhelming at first, but the deeper you go, the more everything clicks into place. You control 13 different characters, each with their own perspective, and their stories weave together like pieces of a massive puzzle. What's wild is that despite all the layers, the writing stays sharp and never loses focus. Visually, it's a masterpiece. The hand-painted art style gives the game this dreamy, anime-like feel that's instantly captivating. But don't let the soft visuals fool you. This story dives into serious stuff like identity, sacrifice, free will, and even the end of humanity. It's the kind of plot that makes you stop and just sit with what you've seen for a minute. The gameplay is split into two main parts. One is story exploration, where you walk around, talk to people, uncover clues, and slowly build the full timeline. You're piecing together memories, unlocking key phrases, and choosing which threads to follow. Some character arcs can't even continue until others catch up, which adds a clever layer of pacing and mystery to how the whole thing unfolds. The other half is real-time tactical combat, where you command a squad of mechs to protect key areas from waves of kaiju. Each pilot brings different strengths to the battlefield, and you can equip them with a variety of weapons, from aerial missiles to railguns to deployable turrets. Every unit falls into a specific class, like long-range support or frontline brawler. And figuring out the right team composition is part of what makes each mission so satisfying. Between fights, you can spend meta chips to upgrade weapons, boost mech stats, unlock new skills, or even reduce cooldown times. The more battles you complete, the more customization options open up, letting you fine-tune your team to match your strategy. 13 Sentinels isn't your typical game. It's a dense and beautifully crafted experience that rewards your time and attention. If you're into smart, well-written stories and don't mind something a little different, this one absolutely deserves a spot on your must-play list.
Did that do it? Neutralized. They're targeting this place. Hold still!
Alright guys, the playlist link should be popping up in the card right now if you want to check out the rest of the series. And don't forget to help your buddy Sage by subscribing, dropping a comment on each video, and checking out the latest deals on Instant Gaming. Every little bit keeps the channel going. Appreciate you all.